Thank you, Mr. Knox. Meeting called to order at 5:19. Madam Clerk, may I have roll call, please?
Commissioner Ayon,
Present.
Commissioner Bruin, absent. Commissioner Clark,
Here.
Commissioner Couch,
Here.
Commissioner Flores,
Here.
Commissioner Fowler,
Here.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Here.
Commissioner McKibben,
Here.
Commissioner Zaragoza.
Here.
Roll call complete.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Now leading us in invocation is Bud Rice. You can stand, bow, sit, and then just stay standing up. We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance after that.
And bow your head, please. Father, thank you on behalf of all who have gathered here today. Thank you for the ability to be involved in useful work and for the honor of being appropriate responsibilities. I pray for our commission. Please grant them wisdom to govern, a sense of welfare and true needs of our people, confidence in what is good and fitting, the ability to work together in harmony, personal peace in their lives and joy in their task. I pray for the agenda set before them today. Please give them assurance of what would please you and what would benefit those who live and work and around our beloved county. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Rice. Now leading us in the pledge is Commissioner Gary McKibben.
Follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Knox, do we have anybody for video conferences? Mayor Bruin chimed in.
He has not.
He has not.
Okay, we'll proceed to move to item number 5, approval of the minutes of October 16, 2024. Do we have any public comment regarding the minutes? Seeing none, do we have any commissioner comments or questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion, Flores.
Second, Couch.
Motion by Commissioner Flores, second by Commissioner Couch. Madam Clerk, may I have roll call, please?
Commissioner Ayon,
Aye.
Commissioner Clark,
Yes.
Commissioner Couch,
Yes.
Commissioner Flores,
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner McKibben,
Yes.
Commissioner Zaragoza.
Yes.
All ayes, motion passed.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to item number 6, public comments. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons desiring to address the commission on any matter not on the agenda and over which the commission has jurisdiction. Speakers are limited to 2 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record before making presentation. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment?
No.
Seeing none, closing public comment. We have no determination proceedings. Moving on to item number 8, notice of public hearing, 1828, City of Bakersfield annexation, number 711, Taft Highway, number 4. Annexation 1828, City of Bakersfield, 711, Taft, number 4, was approved by the commission on October 16th, including 31 parcels located south of McKitchen Road, east of Old River Road, north of Eagle Road, and on both sides of Taft Highway. The city did not garner 100% landowner consent. The protest hearing will be completed pursuant to Government Code Section 563-753.3. The executive officer and conducting authority held a protest hearing on December 3rd, 2024 at 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Results will be announced during their meeting. Mr. Knox, your report, please.
Yesterday, a protest hearing was held for City of Bakersfield, Taft number 4. We had a rather large crowd of about 8 landowners in our conference room, but we did not receive any written or verbal protests. They were there to see if any showed up. Also, you might remember that there were some discrepancies with whether properties were in or out of the Williamson Act. It took a while, but that has now been resolved. As such, the protest hearing fails. This annexation has met all the conditions and is ready to move forward.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any public comment regarding this item? Seeing none, do you have any commissioner questions, comments regarding this item? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion, Fowler.
Second, Couch.
Motion by Commissioner Fowler, second by Commissioner Couch. Madam Clerk, may I have roll call, please?
Commissioner Ione.
Aye.
Commissioner Clark.
Yes.
Commissioner Couch.
Yes.
Commissioner Flores.
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler.
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Yes.
Commissioner McKibben.
Yes.
Commissioner Zaragoza.
Yes.
All ayes, motion passed.
Okay, moving on to B, which is 1830 City of Bakersfield Annexation Number 714, Snow Number 17, North of the Rivers Sanitary District Annexation Number 116, and County Service Area CSA 71 Detachment W, right?
Yep.
This proposal is to annex approximately 92.37 acres of land consisting of 13 parcels located on the northwest corner of Snow Road and Callaway Drive. This annexation was initiated by the city of Bakersfield for the purpose of providing city services. The surrounding properties are residential, commercial, industrial, and agriculture. The proposal does not have 100% landowner consent. The applicant has requested an island annexation under California Government Code 56375.3, which requires notice, hearing, and waives a protest hearing. Mr. Knox, your report, please.
Substantial definition of considerable importance, size or worth, strongly built or made, large and filling, and concerning the essentials of something. This LAFCo has not provided a definition of substantial, as in substantially surrounded, and for the first time, this commission will be making a determination of what is substantially surrounded, as this proposal is 85% surrounded by the city of Bakersfield. The city of Bakersfield has requested this annexation go forward as an island annexation. As I've stated before, I'm not a fan of the streamlined island annexation in Government Code 56375.3 and its requirements to mandate annexation if all requirements are met. Doing so provides no discretion to this commission. The code section also waives the protest hearing, which removes the property owner from having a significant say in the jurisdiction of which the property right is located. Yet, as executive officer, it is my responsibility to point this commission towards compliance with the law. All that said, I believe it would be hard to justify not finding that 85% is substantially surrounded. And looking at other LAFCOs, only Stanislaus LAFCO has a definition greater than 85%, and they're at 90%. San Joaquin is at 2/3, Santa Clara 75%, Contra Costa 70%, Ventura 80%, San Bernardino 80%. This proposed annexation is also part of a group of annexations for the purpose of meeting state RENA housing requirements. This proposal does not have 100% landowner consent. The applicant has been informed that notice hearing and protest hearing will not happen under 56.3. The proposed area is within the city's sphere of influence. There is no tax increase. Pre-zoning for the area, it has various densities of residential and neighborhood commercial. It is consistent with the general plan, regional transportation plan, or specific plan. There's no ag land conversion. It's consistent with commission policies, conforms to the assessor parcels, and we have an indemnification agreement. Annexation will overlap with CSA 71, therefore CSA 71 will be detached. And North of the River Sanitary District has an agreement with the city of Bakersfield to supply sewer services in that area, therefore the annexation will include NOR. There'll initially be no change in water supply, but that will change over time. CEQA is handled by a notice of exemption adopted by the applicant. Affected and overlapping agencies and districts were notified and no comments were provided. The process required by the Cortese Knox Hertzberg has been followed, including notices to affected agencies and any notices and publications required by law. It's my recommendation that the commission should review and consider the environmental document adopted by the applicant, find that the annexation meets all the requirements of Government Code 56.375.3 for an island annexation. And as an island annexation, the commission must approve the annexation 714 Snow number 17 to the city of Bakersfield, North of River Sanitary District number 1, annexation 116, and detachment from CSA 71, letter W. There'll be a waiver of the protest hearing and subject to conditions recommended by the executive officer.
Thank you, Mr. Knox. I'll open it up to the public. If there's any public comment regarding this item? Seeing none. Commissioners, any questions, concerns? Go ahead, Ms. Fowler.
I wonder if the gentleman from the city would mind coming forward to answer a couple questions. Thank you. So there's not 100% consent. What percentage consent do you have on this annexation?
I'd have to turn to Executive Director Knox or to other staff to find out. I think we only had one property owner not consent. Is that correct?
That is correct, and it wasn't that he didn't give his consent, but he wasn't opposed to it either. He was just trying to get some things done through the county before everything went through.
Which we actually have that property owner in the room, if you'd like to speak to him. Mr. Tom D. Mr. Tom D. is here, sitting next to me, and he can speak to why he did or didn't give any sort of indication at the time. But we've actually had several meetings. I'll just say, before Tom does get up, we've had several meetings with Tom, and he's already through a bit of his process with the county. And by the time the city turns its key and does its approval, he will be through all of his processes, according to our conversation before this meeting started, and through his building permits, which once he has that from the county, the city, it's grandfathered in. He can continue to build, and as he's conditioned by the county, and we will accept all of what he's done.
Well, that's good to hear. I don't need to speak with him, although I'm sure he's a delightful fellow.
He is.
My point is just to find out, this would pass as an annexation through the normal process because you have all the homeowners, all property owners on board.
So it's an island annexation, which Executive Director Knox outlined. And it's, according to state law, it's not a requirement to have 100% consent from all of the property owners. I realize that it's this LAFCo's guidance to us to do that and to reach out to the property owners, which we've done. But we also want to just adhere to the law. And that's what we're doing in this case.
My point is just that if you got 50% plus one, it would go under regular annexation law. If there
Well,
weren't
it's-
island annexation additions to Cortese Knox, because you have approval, it would have been an annexation we could have easily approved under the normal process.
So if it were greater than 150 acres, and we would have had to go through the normal processes, yes.
Okay,
But not all those conditions apply to this
okay.
annexation.
Thank you. Can you state your name?
Oh, sure.
Correct.
Gary Hallen, Assistant City Manager, City of
As far as
Bakersfield.
city clerk for the minutes.
Sure.
Thank you. Is there any more comments or questions?
Yeah, through the chair, just a couple questions. Does the zoning change, or the zone's gonna stay the same?
It's been pre-zoned, and I'll let our planning staff respond to that, but or our development services staff.
Actually, Bud has it up on the screen.
There's your free zoning right there.
Hi, Jose Fernandez, planner with the City of Bakersfield. That is currently on the screen. As you see there, it's R1, R2, R3 along the Callaway end, and on the corner it's C1. And in the county, everything that's basically on the right side, that's R3, is currently C2 PD, and the vast majority on the west side is zoned agriculture as it stands today.
Any other questions, concerns from the commission?
I'll move approval.
Do you have a second?
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Commissioner Couch, second by Commissioner Clark. Madam Clerk, may I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Ione,
Aye.
Commissioner Clark,
Yes.
Commissioner Couch,
Yes.
Commissioner Flores,
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Yes.
Commissioner McKibben?
Yes.
Commissioner Zaragoza?
Aye.
All ayes, motion passed.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to 8C, 1831, City of Bakersfield Annexation Number 717, Zerker Number 2, North of the River Sanitary District Annexation Number 117, and County Service Area CSA 71 Detachment X. This proposal is to annex approximately 211.78 acres of land consisting of 12 parcels located east of Zerker Road and south of 7 Standard Road. This annexation was initiated by several property owners as well as the city of Bakersfield to provide additional lands to accommodate the city's 6 cycle vacant sites inventory as part of the California state mandating housing element update. The surrounding properties are residential, industrial, agriculture, and open ground. The proposal does not have 100% landowner consent. The applicant has been notified that the notice, hearing, and protest hearings will not be waived. Mr. Knox, your report, please.
Unlike Snow, Zerker Number 2 is not an island annexation. We're done with that for now. This is a more traditional annexation. As like Snow, this is also one that is for the purpose of the city meeting their RENA housing requirements. There is no tax increase associated with this. Pre-zoning has various densities of residential and neighborhood commercial. Is consistent with general plan, regional transportation plan, and specific plan. Is consistent with commission policies, conforms to assessor parcels, and we have an indemnification agreement. This annexation will overlap with CSA 71, therefore CSA 71 will be detached. The city of Bakersfield has an agreement with North of River Sanitary District to provide sewer in this area, therefore the annexation to NOR is also included. Development is currently planned, so there will be a change in water supply over time. CEQA is handled by notice of exemption adopted by the applicant, and the effects and overlapping agencies and districts were notified and no comments were provided. The process required by Cortese Knox Hertzberg has been followed, including notices to affected agencies and any notices of publications required by law. I recommend that the commission consider the notice of exemption filed by the applicant, and further recommend that the commission approve annexation 717, Zerker Number 2, to the city of Bakersfield, annexation to North of the River Sanitary District Number 117, detachment from CSA 71, a letter X, and notice and protest hearing will not be waived as required by Government Code Section 5663 and subject to conditions recommended by the executive officer.
Thank you, Mr. Knox. Do we have any public comment regarding this item? Seeing none, any commissioner comments or questions? Go ahead, Ms. Commissioner Fowler.
Mr. Howland again. Just for ducks, what level of approval do you have now? If you could state it in a percentage.
Hi, Jose again. Thank you for the question. We sent out mailers last year when we conducted the pre-zone for the properties, and we let all the property owners know that we were going to be pursuing annexation. At that time, we hadn't heard back from any of the property owners. I do believe we have one property owner here in favor, but we have not heard anyone against this annexation.
Interesting, thank you.
Any other, go ahead, Commissioner Clark.
All right, thank you, through the chair. Are there any specific improvements or expansions planned for infrastructure that isn't already currently there?
Can you please stand?
Roads, utilities, that type of thing?
So all three of these annexations are developer-driven,
Yeah.
meaning we have one developer in the room, but there's also two other developers that if you can pull the map back up.
Sure.
Yeah, sorry. So the very long, narrow parcels that front, there's two parcels that are just south of the corner. So you've got the C1 parcel, which we've got the landowner here, and then those two parcels to the south, and then that very large parcel that's kind of that teardrop parcel. Those are all owned by one developer, and they're interested in developing. And so when those developers conduct their development, they will be required to put in additional infrastructure, meaning, upgrade, widen the roads and the like. So seventh standard is already pretty well developed. I think there'll be minimal impacts and improvements along seventh standard, but Zerker will need some widening and development.
And when we hear the word impacts, we automatically think money and taxpayer. And I commend staff on both sides for the due diligence of letting the public know what's coming and being transparent through this process. I think that's important to note, but it's also important for us to safeguard and make sure that the I's are dotted and T's are crossed and the public understands that those types of things are coming down the pike. So thank you for your time.
Is there any other questions, concerns from the commission?
Move approval.
Second Fowler.
Motion by Commissioner Couch, second by Commissioner Fowler. Madam Clerk, may I have roll call, please?
Commissioner Ione,
Aye.
Commissioner Clark,
Yes.
Commissioner Couch,
Yes.
Commissioner Flores,
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler, Commissioner Gonzalez.
Yes.
Commissioner McKibben.
Yes.
Commissioner Zaragoza.
Aye.
All ayes, motion passed.
Glad we got through the islands and rivers and everything else, Mr. Knox, on that. Bakersfield was really represented today. I can see Mr. Gonzalez made it today.
Make it today. I just wanted to, before I can, Chair, just want to thank city staff, City of Bakersfield staff. We have 4 members of our team from City Hall today, and they've done a tremendous job with all these annexations from the city's perspective, and I just appreciate all of their work. I will say there's a lot more to do, though. The City of Bakersfield is a big city, and there are a number of county islands, and there are a number of areas in Metro Bakersfield that are still part of the county. And in 2025, I think it's time that we get a handle on those things. I think it makes more sense. It's better government. It's more efficient government for us to include all those areas into the City of Bakersfield and not expect the County of Kern to provide city services to Metro Bakersfield. So I know this team is up for the task, and I just want to thank them for all their good work so far. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Gonzalez. Now moving to item number 9, election of the chair and vice chair. Mr. Knox.
Yes. This commission has a customary practice of rotating the chair from among the 4 categories of commissioner: city, county, public, and special district. To maintain this rotation, the commission recently appointed Commissioner Flores as vice chair to represent the county as next in line. You might remember that stare looked a little bit like a coup. If the commission chooses to maintain the rotation custom, Commissioner Flores would move to the chair, and with the public member to be the next in line to be vice chair. I had a conversation with Commissioner Flores, and it appears that he will remain on LAFCo come this next year, and so that works out well for him and us. And then that leaves it to the vice chair of the public members. And you guys can find out who would like to be vice chair. That said, to be clear, any commissioner can put their name into nomination, as this process is strictly custom. Opening up to all commissioners is another option. Recommendation, I have none. While I help facilitate this process, I don't pretend to have enough power to pick my own bosses. So,
Okay. Let me open it up to public comment, if there's anyone. Seeing none. Now, do you have any commission comments or questions?
I move the selection of Jeff Flores as chair and Vince Zaragoza as vice chair.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Fowler, second by Commissioner Couch. Do I have a roll call, please, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Ione,
Aye.
Commissioner Clark,
Yes.
Commissioner Couch,
Yes.
Commissioner Flores,
yes.
Commissioner Fowler.
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Yes.
Commissioner McKibben.
Yes.
Commissioner Zaragoza.
Aye.
All ayes, motion passed.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Now moving on to 9B, 2025 meeting schedule. Mr. Knox?
The meeting schedule presents a bit of a conundrum as we have two commissioners who have identified a conflict on the third Wednesday of each month. One commissioner has a conflict on the fourth Wednesday. After reviewing schedules of other meetings, Tuesdays are Board of Supervisor meetings, and they can't guarantee they'll be out by 5:15. They often are, but you can't guarantee that. Thursdays are COGS and other meetings, and I've heard no calls for meetings to be held on Monday or Friday. No other day appears to be available other than Wednesday evening. Of the two proposed schedules, option A is the third Wednesday and option B is the fourth Wednesday, while keeping the traditional 10-meeting schedule with the commission dark in July and a combined November and December meeting, as we're doing tonight. Option A moves the last meeting to the third Wednesday of November. My recommendation is approve either option A or option B as presented.
Thank you, Commissioner. I got a question for Commissioner Gonzalez. What time do you guys start your meetings on Wednesday?
5:15.
Okay. Well, that answers it, so. Any other questions?
Yeah,
concerns?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, run that by me again. Is it the City of Bakersfield that can't do which Wednesday?
I'm embarrassed to say that I can't remember the calendar at this point for next
I
year.
don't care, that's
Yeah,
okay.
you're the first and the third.
I can answer that. Your
No, the
meetings
second
are
and the
on
fourth.
your meetings are on the second and fourth Wednesday.
Okay, perfect. Sorry. I just got reelected. I'm still trying to catch up. Yeah, thank you.
So what it is
It is still 2024, so
Yeah.
you can't be expected to know that.
we in McFarland have it on the third Wednesday. So,
You're on the third Wednesday, and they're on the fourth Wednesday.
yeah.
And Ridgecrest is also on the third Wednesday. That's why Commissioner Bruin has been attending by video conference, because he's also has a city council meeting.
Is he, I've forgotten how the city seats work. They're on for 2 years?
They're on for 4 years.
4 years? And the city
and-
selection committee chooses that, or it's a rotation that we have implemented?
Alphabetical. So after Ridgecrest becomes Shafter, but that will be, when Shafter comes on, McFarland will step off.
Well, as far as McFarland, what I'm willing, myself, is, we'll stick with the third Wednesday. As far as, I can't speak for Ridgecrest. We'll stay with the schedule we have now, but the following year, we could probably make an adjustment, if that's possible.
It's
The
up to the
LAFCo make the
commission.
adjustment, or the city?
city.
City would, I see. Does that mean you won't make any of the meetings, though?
Yeah, I'll make the meetings.
Okay.
But I'm saying the following year, where Bakersfield, we could switch it to the third Thursday, the fourth Wednesday. This
Gotcha.
year, we'll continue with the.
McFarland and Bakersfield can hash that out
Yeah,
in 2025 for 2026.
correct.
Yeah, through the chair, I was just gonna ask, maybe we could table this for a rock, paper, scissors?
We could have an arm wrestling contest.
I did want to point out option B. I think, unless my eyes are going crazy, it says February 36th up there in option B, so I don't know if that's viable.
We could,
Yeah, we're busy.
we could make history if we did that.
Yeah. Is there, and maybe there's no reason to bring this up because it sounds like there's consensus, but is there a possibility to do January 15th, February 36th, March 19th, April 23rd? Is there a possibility to do rotation? Alternating every other month?
Well,
Or is that-
I'm not in favor of that,
Yeah,
as that would,
yeah.
our noticing, it would be awfully messed up.
Okay, forget I said that.
As the chair, I'm willing to, we'll keep it as is, and then the following year, we could make some adjustments, or the following week, we could vote for changing the date.
Okay.
I'm good with that. We'll figure it out.
Very gracious.
Hey,
Kind of guy you are.
it's the red wave. I mean, keep on winning, so. Yeah, we'll stay with option A. I motion for option A,
Second, Clark?
and the lunch, and the dinner. No, I'm just kidding. We have a motion by Chair Ione and second by Commissioner Clark. May I have a vote, please?
Commissioner Ione,
Aye.
Commissioner Clark,
Yes.
Commissioner Couch,
Yes.
Commissioner Flores,
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner McKibben,
Yes.
Commissioner Zaragoza.
Aye.
All ayes, motion passed.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Now we're gonna move on to 9C. It's only informational. It's management of multiple agency capability. Mr. Knox?
At the last commission meeting, there was a request from Commissioner Arias, who was here then, for a brief on the compatibility of management of LAFCo and COG. And Mr. Schroeder will present his findings.
The issue that is involved was called incompatibility. It's not conflict of interest or that sort of thing. It's when, under Government Code Section 1099, it explains what constitutes incompatibility of offices. And primarily it has to do with is one office has control over the other in some fashion, can remove members of the other office, audit them, things of that sort. Or if it's just improper from public policy purposes for the same person to hold the two offices. In reviewing this particular request, the issue became initially whether the two offices, the executive director of COG and the executive officer of LAFCo, constitute what's called public offices. If they're not both public offices, then incompatibility is not an issue. It has to be two public offices. It can't be one public office and an employment situation. So the first, if you've seen my memo, the first part of it deals with whether these offices are both public offices. The Attorney General has laid out some criteria for determining whether it's a public office or not, and that's listed on the first page of my memorandum toward the end. So what I did was I looked at both the executive officer of LAFCo position and the executive director of COG to see how they fit in with those criteria. It was clear to me that the executive officer in LAFCo is a public office. It was statutorily created by the legislature. It's called an executive officer, for want of a better name. It's not an employee, it's an officer. The duties are laid out by statute. So under all the criteria set forth by the Attorney General, that is a public office. So the next question is the executive director of Kern COG a public office? If it is, then we get into the more detailed evaluation of whether the two offices are incompatible. I determined that the office of executive director of Kern COG was not a public office. It is not created by statute. Its duties are not created by statute. It's created by a joint powers agreement between the county and the various cities in the county. And so it's not created by the legislature. In addition, the title of the office is executive director, which to me has some meaning. It's not executive officer, it's executive director, similar to a public works director or a planning director. It's an employment. It's not a public office in the sense of the executive officer of LAFCo. And so my conclusion on that part of the analysis was that one of those offices is not a public office, therefore the incompatibility issue does not arise, and the analysis stops there. And so if you and if Kern COG chose to allow the holding of both of those offices by one person, that would be appropriate. Now, just to go forward a little bit further, if you did that, and if Kern COG did that, and someone challenged the holding of both offices by one person, and the court decided that they're both public offices and they're incompatible, then the person holding those two offices loses the first position that he had. In this case, if you chose Blair to be the representative in both of those offices, and the court decided they were incompatible, he would lose the executive officer position in LAFCo. So my recommendation is, at the very end of my memorandum, is let's request an opinion from the AG's office, the Attorney General's office. It's not binding on the courts, but the courts view that with a lot more deference than they would my memorandum, because the Attorney General's office is charged by statute with the responsibility of issuing those kinds of opinions. And so that's where we sit. Now, I think Blair has requested, you cannot request an Attorney General's opinion. There's only certain agencies that can do that. One of them is the County Counsel's office. And I think Blair made a request to them to issue, if they would be willing to issue, if Margot would be willing to issue that opinion. And I think she's still looking at it.
Her comment to me was that the request would have to come from KernCog. County Council is actually legal counsel for KernCog, so they would have standing in that case, where we are not tied to County Council at all. So it would either have to come from, the request would come from KernCog to County Council. The other way we could do it is have a Board of Supervisor make that same request. So those are the two options, if you want to go down that road right now.
I mean, may I comment?
Go ahead, Commissioner
Yeah, so I'm willing to make that ask if our board collectively chooses to. I'm happy to do that. We can, either the board can make the ask of county council, or I can make it as a member of this body to my county council.
Okay, go ahead, Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you, Chair. My question is, have we had this conversation with KernCog's board? And, you know, I don't want us to get too far down this road if KernCog is not even willing to entertain this agreement.
My understanding of where KernCog is they have not made a decision. They were actually going to advertise the position in January. I'm very much having conversations with the current executive director, and he's actually sending me classes on transportation planning to get to familiarize myself. So I'm still in the mix, but there's no guarantee that they're going to go down that path.
Okay, I'm wondering how much time and effort we should invest in this if they're not willing to dance. And so I guess my request would be that we meet with, again, the executive director of KernCog and the board chair to have a conversation about whether or not we should pursue this and have county council make that request of the AG.
And
Go ahead, Mr.
I had
Flores.
offered that Tom would actually write the request, so it wouldn't actually cost county council any time or of theirs.
Go ahead, hold on, Mr. Flores has got a second question.
Oh, go ahead, Flores, Johnson.
Oh, okay, thank you. Oh, also, and just for a point of clarification, I'm not weighing in on the pros or cons of such an approach at this juncture without further study, but what I'm willing to do now is just as a courtesy, be a part of the exploration to get you an opinion, should this body request one. You know, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Zaragoza.
Interesting question from Andre. And as of you probably all know, there are 3 KernCog board members on the commission. So they're right here in front of us. Maybe they can answer the questions that Andre is asking. 2, just last when did we meet? I forget. It wasn't November. It was
October.
October. Sorry.
October.
This came up again, and based on the conversation, I think Eric was here in your seat, was that the executive officer, Mr. Blair, was talking to the executive director, Aaron, and asked about property management, because basically it's going to be can we lease the unoccupied space at the Crest Building? And I guess Aaron said, well, why don't you consider becoming the executive director? So it was a conversation that got into this situation. It's nothing from the board. There's been nothing, our board or Kern Cog board, nothing's in writing. I have asked to see that because right now it's speculation, and we are spending a lot of time on this. And Supervisor Couch asked a really good question last October, at least I remember the month, about whether or not there ever is another type of entity like this in California. And I misspoke. We mentioned Tulare County. Tulare County has a building that is predominantly occupied by the COG. The executive director is Theodore, I think his last name is, I believe the executive director is, they call him Ted. And the COG has space that is being leased by the LAFCo Commission, which is Benjamin Giuliani. Those two folks have staff there. So the agency, the COG, has probably 20-plus staff. I looked at the organizational chart, and then the LAFCO has about 3 people. And they have separate boards. There's a board of LAFCO folks, and there's a board of COG folks. They're not together. The executive director position and the executive office are not together. They're separate, and they're focusing on separate issues. One is LAFCO focus, and one is COG focus. So I wanted to clarify that question that you had, which was very astute, because I thought maybe there was a potential, a prototype, but no, they're separate. And the point I was going to make was, I believe that if the county is willing to make the request to county council for a AG opinion, I'm open to that. I'm also open to the fact that Andre is suggesting that we meet with the executive director and get something in writing from COG saying this is what we want to do, and then explain to the officers there, are we going down a rabbit hole, or is this going to be something we can do, even though potentially from a operational, organizational perspective, it's never been done, and I can see a lot of liabilities and caveats that we need to be concerned about, and maybe that could be discussed more at some point.
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead, Commissioner Couch.
To answer your question, since, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, your question was, what did the COG board think? I think we talked about it a few months ago at one meeting, and I don't think there was any consensus. It was sort of the first time it had been discussed, and you want to amplify that? But that's, I don't recall us coming out of that meeting with the board saying, yes, that's a great idea, let's pursue it, or no, we don't want to go anywhere near that. It was just sort of a general discussion about the concept.
Agreed, and just to echo Commissioner Couch's, my statement was, if the gentleman wants an opportunity for that position, he should be able to apply for that position, as long as there's no liability or potential litigation towards our board. And so that's what this background they're doing, to make sure that there's no potential litigation down the road. But even to put a skin in the game, we got to give the individual an opportunity. It's not up to me if he wants to apply for the job. It's not to handcuff him and say you can't because you already belong to this board. So that's why we live in America, the greatest country in this world. You have opportunities. So go ahead, Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you, Chair, and I completely respect that, and I don't want to belabor the point if this board wants to pursue this. My only response to that is that anyone has an opportunity to apply for that Kern COG position. They would have to then resign from their current position. And so you're right. I mean, in this country, anyone is free to do anything. And so I think the real question is whether or not we want to merge the responsibilities of the executive roles within among the two agencies. And I think that is a larger question that not only requires us to answer some legal questions, but also some real questions about our organization and what we want to pursue. And I'm not sure that we've had that deep of a conversation yet. So even if we answered the legal questions, I still have questions about organizationally what that really means and what the impact is. And you know, I think that warrants a further, longer conversation. So again, before we move towards this and go down this road, I would at least like to have a better sense from Kern. It sounds like there's not a lot of consensus at this point.
Well, it's not about consensus. It was just the conversations. Like, we're not gonna. Well, as far as what I said was like, I'm not gonna tell him not to apply, but nobody said that he's not a potential candidate. You know, so we can't tell an individual, hey, don't apply because you're already sitting on this board. And that recommendation came from the existing executive director for, you know, the potential of this position. And all they asked was, Tom, was, hey, can you make sure that this ain't a potential liability? That's where we're at with it, or litigation. Go ahead, Mr. Saragosa.
I can sympathize with what you just said, and Andre would know this too. When I worked for the city of Bakersfield as a supervisor position, I wanted to teach a class at university. I couldn't do it without permission. I couldn't get any kind of employment. They told me, put it in writing, submit it to the city manager, and we'll see what he says. He wanted to make sure it was not during regular work hours because of liability issues. Whose car was I going to be driving? Was it going to be at night? Was I working at night? Was it on weekends? All kinds of questions. And once that was put down on paper and he reviewed it, he said, okay. And predominantly it was weekends or late at night. There was no conflict because he wanted to make sure in the event something happened to me, like car accident, harassment complaint, it wasn't going to be on the city because I was not a city employee doing university business. Right now, I believe the current executive officer's contract allows him to apply anywhere. I really think he should be asking for permission so that we don't have these liability issues. That's my personal opinion. I defer to council to see if that is correct based on the contract.
Go ahead, Ms. Fowler.
I'm asking Tom, would it be appropriate for us to have a closed session for the commission to discuss whether we want to permit Blair to take the next step?
Not to make this decision, you could have a closed session to see if you want to
Discussion.
evaluate Brett Blair for his position here or whatever, but not to decide whether or not to allow him to be both the executive officer in LAFCo and the executive director in COG. That's a public agent, that's a public meeting issue.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Mr. Cal.
I want to dovetail on what Councilmember Gonzalez said. The policy decision about combining them or what that structure looks like, I think comes first. You might be able to ask for the AG's opinion concurrently, but you're right, Andre, in that it's a policy decision of LAFCO, the LAFCO board and the Kern COG board. I don't know how to do that other than maybe we appoint an ad hoc committee here and we ask Kern COG to do the same, and if they want to do it, they do it, and then those two, if it can be done legally, can those two ad hoc committees sit down and hash this out and decide if we were to do that, what we would like it to look like? That's one decision. Or, hey, either one of us doesn't want to do it or both of us don't want to do that. But then we come back to each respective body and say, here's the recommendation, or here's what we talked about, and here's what we suggest. Can we do that?
Yeah, you can do that.
Okay.
And
That
If
may
I
not
may.
be the right answer either. It's just a thought.
Hold on, Blair. Go ahead, Mr. Clark.
I guess my question is why would we need to do all that work? It's almost like getting the cart before the horse. If we get an AG's opinion and he says no, there's a moot point to go forward. But if we get an AG's opinion of saying yes, then we can move forward. That's a question.
Here's
That's
why,
not-
I
yeah.
think, because I don't really know what that structure could look like. There's probably some variations. Could you have a director of Kern COG / LAFCO and you have assistant director that runs one and one runs the other? Or are there other, I'm looking at it like an organizational chart. Are there different ways of putting that together that I haven't even thought of? Andre may have better ideas, or somebody on the COG board may have better ideas, or somebody else here may have ideas that I haven't even thought of. I can only think of that one because it makes sense to me, but there could be others, and I think it's that we need to, I think when we go to the AG, we have to ask a very specific question. And I don't really even know the question that we would be asking right now, other than, can one guy do both jobs? I think is all we've come up with so far at the same time. And I don't,
Through the chair, the question that was asked initially was incompatibility doctrine, does it apply? And your answer is?
That was my conclusion, yes.
That does not.
It does not apply.
That it does not apply?
Yes.
Correct. And
So-
you're just needing further clarification.
so we could ask that one question of the AG, but I think there might be, in my mind, then we decide on what does that structure really need to look like? And we probably need to ask the AG again, and I think we should just only ask one question,
Yeah.
one time.
Go ahead, Mr. Knox. Oh, go ahead, Mr. Zaragoza.
I think that is potentially a way to start, even though I do agree with Andre's proposal that if this is not even going to be feasible, why tie up AG's time? But if all they're going to be opining on is the memo on the incompatibility doctrine, that doesn't imply to me that there are no caveats, liabilities, or other potential problems down the road doing this. And I can think of many, that would put us at risk. And I don't want to go into it unless you want to discuss it. And therefore, ad hoc committee probably is a good place to put it. I think it's a potential type of public committee would be a committee that doesn't require, I'm not sure what type of committee is that. I'm not the best person to talk about that. But the point is that that's a discussion we could have concurrently or subsequently.
Go ahead, Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you, Chair. I guess hearing that, the first question really is if this commission wants to proceed forward. And I guess as one commissioner, my answer is no. I do not want to proceed forward. I do not think this is a good idea. I don't care if it's compatible or not, really. I think there's a lot of policy considerations that we need to make, and I think there's a lot of hazards in this particular move. So I would not be in favor.
Thank you, Commissioner Gonzalez. Do we have any other questions? Go ahead, Commissioner, Mr. Knox.
Yes, thank you. I want to make something clear, and that is my first responsibility is to LAFCo. And I mentioned this before. If I'm given a choice between one or the other, I'm staying with LAFCo. Okay? I've made that commitment to you. My idea is to combine both jobs. They would have separate boards, initially separate staffs. And in my proposal that I gave to Kern COG, I mentioned having that committee structure where there'd be an ad hoc between the two that would work through these issues. Because Commissioner Zaragoza is right. There are going to be issues that need to be resolved, both within my contract and between the two agencies. So those do need to happen. And that's probably going to take legal counsel to answer a lot of those questions. So it's going to take some time and effort to do that. I'm aware of that. I believe that there's an opportunity to provide more efficient services by combining not only COG and LAFCo, but special districts that are providing similar services right next door to each other and have separate boards and separate management. That is not an efficient way of providing services. So I'm looking for ways to provide the best services we can to the people of Kern County. I think I'm capable of doing this. But it definitely is up to you whether you want that to happen. And I'm happy to work on all of it. I think we can do something great here.
Well, due to the fact that this is not even, we're getting to a point where it's not being agendized because it was just about legal counsel.
Yes.
We're just gonna stay out that, then we're gonna either agendize for another meeting because it was just getting the information back from our council.
Correct.
So, it's just informational, commissioners, no voting on it, so we're gonna proceed moving on to, item number 10, which is general business. Approval of monthly expenses list at number 24-10. Do we have any, commissioner questions? Go ahead, Tom.
Mr. Chair, I'm curious as to, are we just dropping it then? There's not going to be any direction to bring
Well-
it back or to do something with it?
Let me go back then. So, from the commission, do we have a motion to create an ad hoc committee between both boards to come to a resolution on this?
Why don't we, I'm gonna make a suggestion.
Go-
Why don't you
ahead.
bring this back in January as a discussion on whether to appoint a committee or not, whether to even proceed or not?
Okay, makes sense.
Yes, ma'am.
That,
So we have a motion from Commissioner Couch and a second by Commissioner Fowler to agendize this item to either proceed or not proceed for the January meeting. Madam Clerk, may I have roll call, please?
Commissioner Ion,
Aye.
Commissioner Clark,
Yes.
Commissioner Couch,
Yep.
Commissioner Flores.
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler.
yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner McKibben.
Yes.
Commissioner Zaragoza.
Aye.
All ayes, motion passed.
Thank you, Madam Clerk, and thank you, Tom, for earning your money on that one. Getting us back to putting agendas and not leaving it out there. Moving on to item number 10. I like giving people their props, so general business, approval of monthly meeting expense list 24-10. Do we have any commissioner questions or comments regarding the expense list? Do I see none? Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion approved by Commissioner Clark, second by Commissioner Couch. Madam Clerk, may I have roll call, please?
Commissioner Ion,
Aye.
Commissioner Clark,
Yes.
Commissioner Couch.
Yep.
Commissioner Flores. Commissioner Fowler.
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner McKibben,
Yes.
Commissioner Zaragoza.
Aye.
All ayes, motion passed.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving on to item B, holiday schedule modification. Mr. Knox, your report, please.
Yes, staff has discovered there is a discrepancy in the holiday schedule. In my contract with the commission, I provide the same holidays as the county. In the employee handbook, the schedule originally mirrored the county, but Veterans Day was added to the county schedule several years ago, but not included in the employee handbook. Doing so would require approval of this commission. My recommendation is to approve the addition of Veterans Day to future holiday schedules.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment regarding this item? Seeing none. Any commissioner questions or concerns adding the additional holiday? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion or second, whichever.
Motion by Commissioner Flores, second by Commissioner Fowler. May I have a roll call, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Ion.
Aye.
Commissioner Clark,
Yes.
Commissioner Couch,
Yes.
Commissioner Flores.
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler.
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Yes.
Commissioner McKibben,
Yes.
Commissioner Zaragoza.
Aye.
All ayes, motion passed.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Now moving on to item C, Lost Hills Community Service District election results. Mr. Knox.
In May, the commission approved the formation of the Lost Hills Community Service District, conditional upon 3 elections. 1, the forming of a board of directors. 2, approval of the formation of the ballot as Measure T, and approval of a parcel tax known as Measure U. 5 people from Lost Hills ran for the 5 seats on the CSD board, which meant that there was no election necessary. If they'd had 6, then they'd have to go to put it on the ballot. Approval of the formation, Measure T, won resoundingly, but the parcel tax Measure U required a 2/3 majority to pass. Yesterday, actually today, I had a conversation with elections. They're going to certify the election tomorrow, and I was told unofficially that the results that are currently on the website will likely not change, which means Measure U failed with 59% approval. As all conditions were not met, the formation of Wastil CSD has failed. The proceeding will be terminated upon receipt of the certification of the vote, and I will try to meet with representatives of the county and Wonderful in the coming weeks and months to determine next steps.
Okay, thank you for that information. Moving on to D, 2024 end of the year recap, Mr. Knox.
Each December, Mr. Rice puts together a list of the projects and accomplishments that we completed in the last 12 months and a listing of what we believe is coming our way in the next 12 months. Mr. Rice, would you like to do the honors?
All right, what we have here is what we have done this year, the proceedings that we've listened to. We've had 13 proceedings. There was many more on the agendas, but some of them were taken off, some of them were delayed due to some of the housing element stuff that was going on. And you'll see that here in a second. In addition to the proceeding list, the 13 proceeding list, there was 31 different determinations that was made by this commission throughout the year. This list right here, this is what we actually have in process. So these are applications that we are working on right now. These applications have already been, the completed packets have been given to us, and we're just sending them out for information and everything. As you can see, there's 16. There's more in process right now than what we had all of last year. So, and then one of them failed last year too. So. And then this one here, these are a list of the cities, the agencies that I have spoke with over the last couple months that have requested additional information so they could start the application process. What you see there is 31. In parentheses, you'll see like the city of Arvin has called about 2 different annexations. City of Bakersfield, extension of services for 2 of them. City of Bakersfield, annexation for 6. I know they have more than that, but that's the ones that I know are coming my way. Total right there is another 41 that we're looking at that is coming our way. And this does not cover the municipal service reviews, the 5-year SOI reviews, things like that. So we are going to have a busy year this coming up. And that's all I had to say.
Thank you, Bud. Commissioner Zaragoza, you have a question?
I think that's a really good summary of what you guys have been doing. You've been very busy, and I'm glad you put it on paper, looking at this. Just to kind of go back, I think it was May 15th, our LAFCo meeting. I think staff said that they had been to a LAFCo conference, and you had talked to various folks. And there was an eye-opener that you had mentioned, which I thought was very revealing, that LA County has, or supposedly is getting as many as 40 apps during the year. And they have 83 cities and 20 districts, et cetera, probably 20-plus staff, who knows. But Kern County, you expected maybe as much, but maybe not quite 40. I think we got down to maybe 30 or 40, 30, 39. The point is, we have 3 people on staff, 3.5. Therefore, Kern County LAFCo is getting busier, as busy as one of the largest counties in California. And in my opinion, staff is really should be commended for working that hard. And I'm concerned about whether or not, how much of a burden it would be to tack on another agency. So this is how it's being connected. Other than that, just wanted to say thank you for the work. Great work.
Thank you, Mr. Zaragoza. Anybody else? Any other commissioners, questions, concerns? Seeing none. Moving to executive officers, miscellaneous items.
Yes, start with McFarland 19. At the last meeting, the commission approved the City of McFarland Annexation 19 with the condition that additional 6 properties were added to the annexation would provide consent letters. We have received all 6 consent letters, and the annexation will move forward towards completion. I recently met with the grand jury and provided them an introductory look into LAFCo's authorities and operations. They had a lot of great questions and took an interest in what the commission is working on. There was discussion afterwards about specific agencies, but I signed a non-disclosure agreement. Next topic, from time to time, I allow staff to work remotely. During COVID, we were operating under an emergency order by the governor. Now we don't have an order to fall under, and the employee handbook does not spell out anything related to remote work. I believe we should include a remote work policy. Unless the commission has objection, I will draft a remote work policy and then schedule a meeting of the policy committee to review and possibly bring back a recommendation to the full commission. I take that as,
Can I weigh in on that?
sure.
I think it's important that people come to work. I understand that it might make sense in certain circumstances for people to have some time to work, the ability to work from home. But I think we need to be careful that that doesn't become the norm.
Which
So
could be written into the policy.
Okay, that's what I'm asking for.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Next topic. As some of you have heard from me before, the biggest threat to the operation of LAFCO is the state legislature. For the past 3 years, I have served on the CSD Legislative Committee for that purpose. I have again been appointed as the only LAFCO member on the committee and plan to serve another year. The audit for 2023-2024 is close to being complete. I expect to bring it to the commission for consideration at the January meeting. Both January and February meetings should have a full agenda. I was hoping to bring more proceedings to the commission tonight, but the process has not been completed for a variety of reasons beyond staff's control. Lastly, Rebecca Moore is going to take a month or two off. I'm hoping she'll return by February or March. As we've noticed, we have quite a bit of work headed our way. I should mention that she's not leaving without fulfilling her end of the year thank you to the commission, which is in a bag right behind me. And those who have been here for a while know what that means. And with that, that's the end of my report tonight.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Knox. Moving on to item number 11, closed session. Do we have any items for closed session?
Commissioner Couch, did you want to speak to this?
Some of us have a very important engagement that we need to get to. Is there any objection to moving this? Well, let me ask this, because one of you, that's you, right, is going to have a city council meeting that day, at our next January meeting.
Would that be on, no, yes, the 11th or the 13th?
So having a closed session on that day is more of a problem for you than just having a regular LAFCo meeting.
Correct. But
So-
we could have a special that day if we do it before the regular meeting at 5:15. If that's possible.
So I'm going to suggest that we either have a I guess it's a special meeting if you have even on the same day, but it's a different time. Could we do, a question for the board is this, could we defer this closed session discussion until our January meeting or a special meeting in January? And I'm going to suggest that if we do it on our regular January date, that we do this closed session before our regular meeting, like maybe 4 o'clock.
Well, if a part of the closed session is to determine an amendment to his contract and potentially an increase in his salary.
Understand.
You can't do that at a special meeting.
Is it a special meeting if we have a 4 o'clock session on our?
If you do what?
Is it a special meeting if we have a 4 o'clock closed session when we typically start at 5:15? Is that still a special meeting?
4 o'clock closed session?
Yes,
You mean, of your regular meeting?
yes.
Yeah, no, you could do that.
So that's a regular meeting.
As long as it's agendized and posted and so forth.
Then that's my suggestion, is that for our regular meeting in January, we have our closed session first,
Sure.
earlier, if board members can make it at that time.
Sure, you can do that.
Okay. But it's up to you guys if you can make it at that time.
I second it, 'cause I'm the one that has a city council meeting that evening, so unless anybody opposes, I think Bakersfield will be on as well, since I made the adjustment. That's what, we're asking the board if it's up to you, if you guys want to make that decision. Sounds good? Yeah?
You need a motion to that effect, or
Okay.
you want a motion, Tom? So I would move that we have a special, not a special meeting, that our next regular meeting, we have a closed session at 4 PM.
Second by Zaragoza.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Couch and second by Commissioner Zaragoza to have a closed session meeting, 4 PM on the day of our next LAFCo meeting. Madam Clerk, do I have a roll call, please?
That'll be,
Go ahead.
that'll be January 15th.
January 15th.
Commissioner Ayon,
Aye.
Commissioner Clark,
Yes.
Commissioner Couch,
Yes.
Commissioner Flores,
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Yes.
Commissioner McKibben,
Yes.
Commissioner Zaragoza. All ayes, motion passed.
We're done.
Okay, well, Commissioners, I just want to tell everybody have a happy Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, stay safe out there. Thank you for attending. Anybody else?
Thank you for your work as our chairman this year.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Good job.
Yeah, so, before we end this meeting, since we didn't go into closed session, our next meeting is January 25th, right? January 15th at 4 PM, closed session. And do I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Couch, second by Commissioner Clark. Meeting adjourned at 6:31. Thank you, staff. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Stay safe.